Dive into the world of flavors and delight. Every drop brings health and fuels our fight. Coffee, the ultimate treat. Podcast takes the lead, where each brew inspires and plants the seed. Now let's explore curiously with our taste buds and ears, with every delightful sip with the host. Coffee, the ultimate treat.
Okay, wonderful to have you back, audience, with us here at Coffee, the Ultimate Treat. We got Steven Puri. He's got a wonderful background in entrepreneurial world and the film world of Hollywood and Fox and everything. So we're going to just deep dive and have a coffee and just relax while you're having a coffee, I guess, while you're listening, hopefully, or well, if you're jogging, I hope you're not jogging or driving. You got your hands on the steering wheel while you're listening. So anyway, Steven, I'm intrigued. Let's go back a little bit, back into your background, and then we'll move forward with your what you're up to now. So tell us, how did you start in the film industry? Way back, you're like high school time. How did you get involved?
You want to go back in the day. So anyone listening at home, I hope this is a fun one for you guys. It has some interesting little coffee-ish anecdotes and also maybe some things that are helpful in life. So the question that Brian's asking me is answered by, I am the son of two engineers. I was born in upstate New York in this little town called Poughkeepsie because that's where IBM had a plant. My dad designed chips like CPUs, and my mom was a software engineer. So, if your mom's like a great ice skater, you probably learned to ice skate as a child. So I learned to code, and it was super fun. And I'd go with my mom down to the computing center and submit jobs with her. It was something I did the way I guess some people, play catch with their kids or whatever. So I was kind of a code monkey and ended up going to...
What time period are we looking at there, Steven?
This is like when I was 12, 13, 14, 15... And I actually got accepted to college early. I got accepted to college when I was 14, so I left, right after I turned 15. So I went to USC in Los Angeles. And the funny thing about USC is they have a great cinema TV school, one of probably the best in the world. And so, you're in the dorm and a lot of your buddies are like aspiring Spielbergs and Lucases, and you talk a lot about movies. And I happened to be in Los Angeles. This is the lucky turn of the story. I was in LA when computers got powerful enough to handle films. So it was the explosion of like the Avids and Pro Tools and, computer graphics being done for movies. And I was lucky in that I spoke engineer because I'd been trained as an engineer. But I also, through a lot of my friends, spoke creative. And that intersection, little Venn diagram, there were not a lot of people that were equally comfortable talking to a director about, what should this shot tell the story of, or the sequence of the buildings blowing up, and what's the story? But then turn around to an engineer and say, hey, I think maybe the way we could do this is, and be very, technical, or at least be respected enough that someone technical could say, yes, that does make sense. Let's do it that way. So my career took off. I got super lucky, Brian. I did about 14 movies, producing the digital effects, the computer graphics. I produced the digital effects for Independence Day. We won the Academy Award for the visual effects in the movie. And, it helps everyone. There are a lot of people involved. There are many amazing people that help make that. But it helps your career, man. Just having...
When you say you're super lucky, how would you say that in regards? Was it a certain someone or a certain group of people or a network or a coffee over a friend that helped spark that, do you think?
You know what? That's a really good question. And I rarely get asked that. I have a very strong belief that it is better to mop. If you want to be a basketball player, it is better to mop the floors around Michael Jordan than it is to go be like a high school basketball coach for some no-name team where you're getting paid more, right? I think it's really important the people around you sort of osmotically absorb things about their work ethic, how they do what they do. And that was, in my life, there have been a couple of very lucky breaks, but I think you're right to ask that question, that they're usually because of the friends that I made that I just thought I had respect for. They were doing something with their life, and I tried to keep up. You want me to go on? I can go on.
Yeah, you can. Go on. So, when you had your first break, what was the first film that you were in? Help produce?
So when I had done about 14 movies, I'd done everything from Braveheart to True Lies to Seven to Immortal Beloved to this Jim Jarmusch film, this Woody Allen film, like a bunch of stuff. So I'd worked with a lot of great directors. And with the director and producer of Independence Day, because we became friends working together, we set up a company and raised about $15 million to do a computer graphics company, 82, head count, doing a whole bunch of graphics every year. Ran that for 4 years. And we got a great offer from a German company called Das Werk to buy us out, about a 6x return. I was in my late 20s. I was like 27, 28. Thought I was incredibly smart and successful. All the things you think in your 20s. You're like, I'm invincible and I can fly, and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had this moment where I was like, oh, wow, I sold a company in my 20s. I worked on Independence Day. We won the Academy Award for that. What do I want to do next? And I didn't think I want to wake up, be 30, 40, 50 years old, just making the effects for the next movie and the next movie, the next movie. I thought maybe I could go upstream and find out how movies are actually made, like how scripts are developed and why studios greenlight something and not something else, and learned it was a very different discipline. Even though I worked with a lot of directors who are making movies, I learned that being part of the development process of finding ideas and developing story is very different than the script is greenlit. There's $150 million to spend and you have to go make the thing. So I worked really hard. Again, my friends were invaluable. I worked really hard and I thought, how could I get on the studio ladder to maybe become chairman of a studio or something? And that's how I ended up, as you know, at DreamWorks for Kurtzman Orsi, at executive vice president, at Fox, doing the Die Hard Wolverine stuff as vice president, stuff like that. And so probably the movies as an executive that I was close to that I think turned out the best, like Star Trek 11. Matter of fact, I die in Star Trek 11. If you ever watched that, the first one with Chris and Zach playing Kirk and Spock.
Okay.
There's a scene where Spock's like in Captain Kirk's chair and he's talking to Bones, who's like down, there's explosions going off, and he's like trying to reach Dr. Puri, and Bones is like, Dr. Puri got killed on deck 6. And Spock's like, well, you're chief medical officer now, Bones. So it's sort of an inside joke with us, but I enjoyed Star Trek a lot. I think it was fun. It was a fun movie.
Yeah. It's a lot of generations can relate to that. So on the how many hours are you working, and how many coffees do you think in your team or your collab that you're drinking a day?
Oh man, it was not even funny the amount of money we because we were working so many hours. There were times when there was no Starbucks available. There was no coffee shop open because it was 3 in the morning. So we had obviously coffee in the production office and the visual effects office, on set, whatever. I was so tired one night this is when I was working on, I think, Godzilla or Independence Day, that I drove home, whatever time, and we'd been working 120, 140 hours a week, right? It was like you were practically at work all the time. We had a shower at work. But I did take my little car home. I had a little convertible Saab, still stick shift, and I think I fell asleep parking it, and I drove into the wall of my garage. I was just so tired. While the garage was opening, whatever that 10 seconds is waiting for the garage, I just fell asleep and I woke up and I was like, whoa, what happened? So yeah, not a good thing to work that many hours. And that's a big lesson that I took into, what I'm doing now with my life of like, what did I watch the most high performing people do to actually be more healthy and productive? Just do amazing things, but not drive into the wall of their garage like an idiot.
Okay, exactly. So what now that you're talking about that, what actually inspired you with your current company and the journey now that you're on?
What it is I think it's super interesting the way some people who are high performers in their field are able to get in these, like very concentrated states, do a lot of work in a short period of time, do high quality work, and ultimately feel healthier and better, right? And someone who wrote a famous book about this is this Hungarian American guy, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and he wrote the book called Flow, which is where we get the word flow state. Mm-hmm. And his thing was, how can I, like Prometheus, go up to Mount Olympus, find fire, and bring it down to everyone else? Like, how is it that Michael Jordan does what he does, and Picasso does what he does, and like inventors of all these things, like they all describe going into the zone. What is it, right? And he wrote an amazing book about this. And I'll tell you, to be honest, I actually, when I first experienced a flow state, I had never read the book, so I didn't know what it was.
Okay.
I was flying here in the U.S. I live in Austin, Texas. I was going from Austin to San Francisco. I was going to go meet with my team. And on the flight, I had my little laptop. And I was like, I need to do some designs to illustrate this idea to show everyone tomorrow, like, hey, let's build this, right? So got on the flight. We took off. The Wi-Fi was out. The flight lands like 10 minutes later. And I was like, oh my God, probably a engine fell off or something bad happened. They're not telling us. And we're landing like in Dallas. We didn't make it to San Francisco. We were in San Francisco. Like I had missed like 3 hours. I had no concept of how much time had gone by. There was no Wi-Fi, so there were no Slack, messages. There were no WhatsApp things coming in. It was just quiet.
Yep.
I don't know if the drink cart came by, but all my designs were done. I got there and there was no race to the hotel room to try and finish stuff for tomorrow morning. It was like, I'm here. Like, this is great. Like, I don't need to worry right now. And that was a really cool feeling. Later, I realized that those were the conditions that sort of help you get into flow state. So what I do with my life now, as you asked, in this very roundabout way, but my personal journey was, wow, there is this state where you can do a lot of work, feel better, be more in control of your life. Mm-hmm. How do I take all these principles that the smart people have written about and put it in behind a play button? Like make a website with the big play button in the middle. And when you hit it, it helps you, block your distractions, play music. There's an assistant that talks to you. If you pick up your phone, it's like, do you need to be on your phone right now? Things like that. And it's super fun. That's what I do.
Excellent. So, so deeping into where you are now, what is the vision that you have moving forward, you would say, overall with your company, your own health, and the family and friends around you?
I appreciate you asking that. Okay, so probably the most fun thing is I'm going to become a dad in November.
Oh,
super
excellent.
excited.
Congratulations.
Got a son on the way. Love my wife to death. I know it's going to be a roller coaster. All my friends are like, you won't sleep for 18 years. Just be prepared, right? So, okay, we won't sleep for 18 years. We'll figure it out. But that's top of the list. I'll say second on the list is basically this. I have worked with some people who are very talented, writers who are making $1 million a script, directors, engineers, designers who are like at the top of their game. I've been very fortunate. And it has led me to a very strong belief. I have a thesis that we all have something great inside us. Mm-hmm. And really the question of this lifetime is, are you going to get it out or not?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And what I want to do is give people tools, the people who choose, who have intention around like, I actually want to do something with my life. I don't want to spend my life scrolling through TikTok or Instagram. Mm-hmm. I want to go do something and either be proud of it myself or make more money or have my family and friends respect what I do or my kids or whatever. Like that's really the goal of my life, to say, hey man, here's some tools that are available. Not everyone's going to do it because these smartest designers and engineers are working at Facebook and TikTok and all that to make you addicted to your phone. And I do think the way, I don't know if this is true for you, Brian, but like the way I look at my parents' generation and smoking, where I was like, how could you do that? Like, and they're like,
yeah, definitely.
It was all movie stars who were smoking and it looked cool. And there were these studies that are health benefits, and you're like, oh my God, now you're all dead of lung cancer, right? I wonder if our kids will look at social media that way, being like, oh my God, like you wasted a whole generation scrolling through clickbait, Maybe. I don't know. I hope so.
Yeah,
Do you have kids?
yeah. No children, but got nephews and nieces, and
Are they
they're
scrolling?
all they're all good at the moment because they're young. We'll wait and see, though.
Look, my fingers are crossed for you.
Yeah. So
There's something, let me interject this. There's something I do want to say, because knowing what you've done and listening to your podcast and being a fan of this, there's a coffee theme that does come up in what I do pretty frequently.
Yep.
And for two reasons. There are two times that comes up, and I'll tell you what that is.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Number one, and Near Ale has written a bunch of stuff on triggers. Like, what are the things internally and externally that trigger us? And he talks about, like, how can you have triggers wired to distraction? Like, how does that sound on your phone, or that vibration? Or what are the external triggers that external companies wire to say, open my app, right? And what are the triggers that you can wire to say, actually, instead of distraction, I want to have traction. You know what? I'd rather start at 9, do this, kill it, and at 3 o'clock be like happy and done, as opposed to 6 o'clock be frustrated, right? So
yes, definitely.
some of the things that, you know, the smart people write about, like Near, right? Anything I say on your pod, I'm just going to tell you, comes from reading and working with smart people. Period. It's not me. I'm just a conduit. Okay. So something that you see a lot is this notion of, well, once we acknowledge there are triggers, like the apps use sounds, they use little notifications, all these like triggers to make you go, oh, I need to go see what email just came in. You know, what thing just got liked. Then you say, how do I wire it? And sometimes when you sit down to work, for example, in the morning, there's certain rituals you can do where you attach that trigger to, I'm actually going to do what I need to do. So I'll give you an example. And this is a coffee thing that comes up. A number of my colleagues have associated their morning coffee, because it is a ritual. It is like, I'm up this many minutes, blah, 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 I shower, whatever, have my coffee and sit down to write, sit down to code, sit down to, design whatever I'm going to do, right? And they built in their mind a relationship between, I sit down with my cup of coffee and I begin. And it stops the wiring of, well, I think maybe I'll just quickly check the news, or, I could return some emails that maybe don't need to be returned, whatever. So because coffee is such a morning ritual for, I'm going to guess, more than half the planet, it's a really easy trigger to hang something valuable on. Rather than just be like, I had my coffee and I wandered around the house. Or, if you work, I work remote. A lot of our, we have like 34,000 people in our community, like most of them work remote. But I guess we work in an office that works too, which is to say, oh, I'm going to have my coffee every morning. Let that be my trigger to actually do something productive. Coffee, start working, and then soon it's just a habit, right? And you have beaten Meta. You've beaten Mark Zuckerberg. It's from stealing your life, right? And there's another coffee thing I want to share with you. And I call it the coffee shop. And I'll tell you why.
Yep. Okay.
In the Sukkah, our website, right, that has this play button with all the music and all the things, right? One of the things that we give you is the ability to be part of a community.
Okay.
There's a group chat where people share what they're working on. If you wrote something, you can post into it. Oh, I just finished my blog post, and someone will be like, "Oh, post a link to it," and other people can read it. Like, there's this sense of community, right? You can also turn on your camera if you want. Like social facilitation theory says, there's a measurable productivity boost when you can see someone working and you can be seen, right? So it's often called the coffee shop effect, right? Because it's not chatty. It's not in a coffee shop. Everyone doesn't go up to everybody else and blah, 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 right? So I named it the coffee shop in our app.
Awesome.
And it goes back to when I was working in film. There is a coffee shop. It's a Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf that's right across from the Directors Guild on Sunset Boulevard and Fairfax, right?
Okay.
So this Coffee Bean is very well known as a writer's coffee shop. So if you go in there, afternoons, evenings, weekends, I would go there to read scripts. I'm not a great writer, but sometimes it was fun to be around that energy. So I would go there, and it is true. You would look around. Everyone's on their little, MacBook Airs, kind of writing away. In the corner, there's like the weird old guy who's written like 4 studio movies. He made $8 million this year, but this is his habit from when he was a young Turk, like coming to a coffee shop to be part of a community that you find around, that third place, that coffee shop sort of thing. But they're also, at the little table next to you, 2 girls who just got off the bus from Iowa who are writing their first TV series spec, and they're excited. But everyone felt like they're in it together. And that feeling of togetherness, it's not quite like being in a restaurant. It's not quite like being in a supermarket, being in a lot of places. There's something about a coffee shop. And I know Starbucks, for example. Starbucks announced they're going to close all of their locations that don't have seats. They opened, I think, 80 or 100 locations that were just like to-go, filling to-go orders. And Brian Nichol, the guy who came over from, Chipotle and stuff, he announced, he said, you know what, I think we missed something. An important part of coffee is being able to sit with other people. And he said, we're going to close the stores where you can't sit with other people. And I love that because I think community is really powerful. So anyway, I want to share that with you because coffee comes up in what I do in 2 distinct ways.
Yes, definitely. And that's very valuable for a lot of our audience, I believe. Steven, now, just what we've been discussing here, and something it's even eating away, because you brought up about the social media and the next generation. Just diving back to your production days. Now, when you were there, were you totally aware, or I should ask, if you were involved in doing the subliminal marketing messages during the production? Were you involved in that area?
You know what? I know that's a thing that people talk about. Are there subliminal messages in this marketing or that? I was not a marketing executive there. My goal, my job really, like Fox, for example, is to find projects. That could be meeting with Brian and his partner. They have a pitch. I buy the pitch. We develop a script. We try and get it made, So develop studio projects like, we own the Die Hard franchise. Let's make the 5th one. We own the Wolverine franchise. Let's make the 2nd one. So my job is really more find projects, develop them, push them to get them made and release them. So I don't know. Maybe there's some clever people doing, subliminal advertising. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, and that integrative, I know that you've seen, we've all seen it, those Pepsi ads during, the particularly the 90s. I remember it more so.
Right.
The 90s, the Pepsi, the different, just, they wouldn't talk about it, but you could see it behind that highly paid, successful actor.
Yeah.
So you didn't have anything involved in that decision making of what actor or that type of thing?
There is a business phenomenon of product placement. So in movies, part of the production budget will be offset by brands that pay to be in there. So if you are making a movie with cars and Buick wants to have its cars promoted, they will supply the cars to the movie and they'll give you $500,000 or something, right? So there is absolutely that, but it's called product placement. It's pretty well known. Like, why is the star drinking a Sprite, not a Coke or something?
And before we go, Steven, what is your favorite type of coffee? You can say the brand; it's okay. But more about the flavour and that you like to celebrate with your family and friends, or your close loved ones, we'll say.
That is very sweet to say, and I'll tell you, to be very honest, I'm sort of a coffee wimp. My wife was more of the coffee drinker, and her mom and my dad. So I'm sort of the one that's like, okay. I could do more of like a mocha or something. Could you add some chocolate to that? I'm like, definitely that guy. Yeah. I'll admit it. I'll take the shame. But I think her mom is probably the one who would debate with you what single roast, what vintage of what single roast is hers. I've never been that sophisticated, nor with wine. Like I've enjoyed wine. I would not turn down your wine just because it was the wrong vintage or something,
Yeah, that's excellent. Well, Steven, I think we're going to have you back sometime on the podcast.
I would be flattered to be back, and I'll bring us some more news stories.
Yeah, before you leave, the listeners need to hear more about what you're up to now, about your platform.
Oh, sure.
And all that. So if you can just give just go for it. Just
Happy.
share.
Okay. Let me say two things. One thing is, if there's anything that I've mentioned that someone wants to know more about, it doesn't have to be about my work. Mm-hmm. My email address is very public. It's just Steven@thesukkah.co, THESUKHA.co, the Sukkah Company.
Yep.
So if they're like, oh, that Hungarian guy, who was that? Can I read that book? Email me. I will email you back a link. I don't have time to email you back paragraphs of like what I did as a child on my summer vacation, right? Yeah. But I return all my emails in 24 hours unless I'm sick or traveling. So okay. That is available for anyone who wants to learn more about NEAR, awesome. Cal Newport, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, whatever, right? Because I just think the world would be better if we all could defend ourselves better against the companies that steal our attention and our lives. And then anyone who is interested in the tool we built, I don't make any money off it, but I provided, Tony, my partner, and I provided as a service for $10 a month. It is called the Sukkah Company. You can find it at THESUKHA.co. And you can try it for 7 days with no credit card. Like sign up in 10 seconds. Email address. Awesome. And if it helps you, great. Maybe do something great with your life. Change the world,
Awesome. That's awesome, Steve. And wonderful to have you. Thankful.
Brian, thanks for inviting me on. This is super fun.
Part of the coffee community here at Coffee the Ultimate Treat, and hopefully our keen listeners will go ahead and look into that wonderful tool and invitation that Steven's got. That's wonderful that you can try it out and without any pressure. That's wonderful, and that's the type of people we love to value, to creating value in the world and bringing people together through coffee and connections and what value they offer. So thanks for being
Brian.
Here today, Steven. Is there any closing thoughts that you would like to share?
I simply say, anyone listening, thank you for listening, and grab a cup of coffee and do something great.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, mate.
Okay, bye, y'all.
Thanks for tuning in, it's really sweet. Your ears too were quite the treat. Sipping knowledge in every beat. We hope you found it hard to retreat. Community bonds we hold so tight in the dark roast or morning light. Gathering stories brave and bold, every listener pure gold. Thank you from the host. Coffee, the ultimate treat.